on the go with Latin passion. Mas Fuego. Get the fire. Mas Fuego is an entirely new concept in beverage technology. It's a drink that is full of caffeine that keeps you awake and makes you anxious.
Oh, it makes my boyfriend crazy. He's like a Latin bull, even though he's a Chinese. Tears me to pieces.
Now that's some Latin passion. Mas Fuego. Synthesized Latin testosterone energy drink. Live life to the limit.
No. Is there something wrong with me? It's my weight, isn't it?
No, you're great. Just the way you are.
Erectile dysfunction is more common than you think, especially due to the fatigue and alcohol abuse that often accompanies taking home a large, needy girl from the bar late at night. That's why there's Mollus. Don't let your penis let you down. Mollus overrides the dignity and disgust that often result from a sexual encounter with a desperate girl. So you can have the confidence and stamina to make an impression that lasts.
Wow, that was incredible. Can I see you tomorrow?
Yeah, listen, could you use the back door so my friends don't see you?
Asshole!
Ask your bartender about Mollus, or order online from any number of disreputable Mexican pharmacists. Mollus is Vesuvius citrate and should be taken with alcohol. Mollus, respect be damned.
When you die, it doesn't have to be the end. Hi, I'm Uzi Fitzsimmons, and I know that you, your animals, even women, have an essence that continues to flow after the death of a body. In ancient Egypt, where they were fascinated with triangles, man-cats, and incest, the mummification process ensured that in 1,000 years, you'll still look great, and your spirit can make love after death. Wow! Now you can too! Preserve your heritage and soul in the next life by getting mummified. Just listen to one of our customers who signed up. I swear I didn't pay him.
Hey, when they bury you, worms beat out your brain. Or they burn the shit out of you. What if I ain't really dead? Even if I'm dead, I don't want that shit. Then I heard about mummification. I'ma get myself some crazy sarcophagus or some shit like that. I'm a pharaoh.
Wow, mummification. Preserve yourself the ancient way.
My whole life, I felt like something was wrong. I thought maybe I was gay or transgender. But having tried both of those, it wasn't that. Then I realized what it was. I hate walking. Now, thanks to the Relax Power X motorized scooter from Ambulate, I haven't walked in 2 years. And I'm much happier. My cup is always half full, and thanks to the cup holder, it never spills. Now I never have to worry about indigestion. I can roll my fat ass to the fridge without ever getting tired.
The Relax Power X motorized scooter from Ambulate comes with special parking permits for your car, so you can begin living a life of luxury. Why worry about health, your weight, or what people think of you? Now, you're faster. Motorized scooters are the future of the American lifestyle. Carefree. That's the Relax Power X from Ambulate. Take the weight off your feet.
Stopping global warming has finally gotten cool. Street style meets environmental concern with this seriously bad, morally good, fully customizable luxury VIP style hybrid sedan. The Karen Dilettante. Expensive, but the earth is worth it. She'll swoon at your low exhaust emissions and maybe let you do a bit of exploring of her exhaust too. If you understand real bling, you can make it run on expensive champagne and fine cigars. Save the planet for only $39,999. The Karen Dilettante. Bad plus good equals better for everyone.
You step on the scale each morning. Another 5 pounds. Ugh, it's a heartbreaking misery that knows no equal. But it's not your fault. You've just given up hope. Now it's time to take back that control with a pill. Take a Liturgix after each meal and you're guaranteed to lose weight. That's because it eradicates and evacuates the elements that cause you to gain weight. Liturgix is not available in pharmacies or drugstores, bogged down by regulations. We give you this one-time only chance to cut out the middleman and the FDA by ordering dangerous and potentially life-threatening chemicals over the web. Visit Liturgix.com today and take back the power.
Hello, welcome everybody. Hey, Selena. I'm going to go ahead and apologize. As most of all y'all know, I'm been sick, so the sniffles is yeah, it's bad. It's a real thing. So let's go. Hey there, ladies and gents. Welcome to Ominette Paranormal Season 2, Podcast 27. Hope you all had a wonderful Thursday. Please, everyone, make yourself at home. And if you have any questions for our special guest, don't be shy because questions are always welcome here. Every one of you means so much to me, and you are all very important to this channel. So I do like to welcome everybody in chat by name. If I haven't greeted you immediately, I promise I will get to you. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to us and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get notifications when we go live. And lastly, if you like what we're doing, give us a like. It would be most appreciative. So now let's get on with the show and introduce our guest. Tim Kummer has been in the paranormal for 20 plus years. He represents Riverbend Paranormal, Indiana. He has traveled throughout the United States investigating some of the most notorious haunted locations, trying to gather evidence of the afterlife. He reviews history and the tragic events that have taken place at these locations. Tim's journey has taken him to some amazing places where he has gathered some significant evidence, indicating that we are not alone. This is his passion into the world of unknown. Here are just a few locations he has investigated. He has gone to Villisca Axe Murder House, Indiana Sanatorium, Old South Pittsburgh Hospital, Fairfield Infirmary, St. Albans, Ashmore Estates, Hinsdale House, Wildwood Sanatorium, and Bobby Mackey's. So let's bring him on. Hey. Y'all are going to have to excuse my husband. He's sick. We're all just, yeah.
It's all good. I understand.
Did I say your last name correctly?
Yeah, you said it perfectly.
Wonderful. I just want to make sure. And before we get started, I just want to welcome. I see a few more people have come in. There's Maggie. Welcome. And Wayne. Welcome. Hello. Hello. We were already. Wayne says, on my way to Wildwood in a couple of weeks.
There you
Awesome.
go. It's a great place, great location.
And there's Robbie. So let's get on with the questions. And of course, it's the same old, what got you interested in the paranormal field?
Well, when I was younger, a lot of friends and family members would always tell me about the different things they experienced, as far as seeing apparitions or seeing dark shadow figures. And I never really had those kind of experiences. So I started to get curious to, the things they were telling me. And one day I just thought to myself, I want to have some of those experiences. I want to get out there and see what this paranormal world's all about and see if I can have some experience of my own. So I just started, like everybody else does, doing cemeteries, abandoned locations and stuff like that. And looking to have experience of my own that way. When we were having discussions about it, I'd have some stories to tell of my own. And now that I've been in it for 20, 25 years, I've got quite a few stories of my own to share. So that's what really got me more into it than anything was curiosity.
Right.
And I just been kind of doing it ever since.
That's awesome. And we've already got our first question. Selena says the Villisca Axe Murder House is on her bucket list. Did you catch any good evidence while you were there?
Yes, we did. Actually, we caught some decent evidence in the kids' room, some pretty good EVPs. And then I did a little challenge up in the attic up at the murder house. And of course, I'm chained and blindfold to a chair up there, so I can't see anything. But we had a shadow detector box go off that was not pointing towards me, it was pointing towards a different direction of the house, of the attic. And within, I don't know, a few minutes of me being into my challenge, you can hear a large footstep in the room, and then that shadow detector just went off for like, a couple minutes, like something walked right by it or kind of was standing there right in front of it. And then, well, I mean, the house is old, so you hear a lot of different noises, and it's a smaller home. So you heard a lot of different noises as well, but there's certain things that you just couldn't make sense of. I mean, a lot of things you could debunk and say it was the wind or the creakiness of the old floors. But then there was just quite a bit of you couldn't debunk. So yeah, it's definitely an active location. One of my buddies was there at a different time. That was with me this time. The last time he was there, something locked him in the attic. He couldn't get out of the attic. There was two other investigators with him, and they had one outside to give him some alone time in the attic. And somehow the door closed, and he was locked in the attic for probably like 20 minutes until they came back in the house to check in on him. So he was like upstairs in that attic for a little period of time.
That's a little freaky right there.
Yeah. And he swears that's the craziest place he's ever been to. And he's traveled quite a bit and been to a lot of locations, but he said that's the creepiest location he's ever been to. So,
oh wow,
we'll be going back out there in August. I think August 27th we'll be back out there at Villisca, and then the next night we'll be at Edinburgh Manor. So we'll be back in Iowa.
Ooh, yeah.
Looking forward to
it. Yeah, definitely. So, what equipment do you like to use during your investigation?
Well, I like to keep it old school. I use a lot of just video and audio, but I normally have a couple of trigger devices with me. The main being my ADI meter because it's got 5 different functions on it. So I prefer to use that a lot. And then, I mean, I got a couple of REM pods and a couple other devices or trigger objects that I may use just depending on the location and what the history of the location is. But I try to keep it old. My method's old school. I prefer audio and video. I feel like that's the best way you can capture your evidence. And it's really the most profound way to capture evidence, in my opinion, because you have a little more credibility behind video and audio. I mean, if you take a piece of evidence to a professional person that knows videos, they can look at it and break it down for you and can explain to you, well, yeah, that's abnormal, that shouldn't be there. They can break down the light setting or reflective surfaces or whatever, and can kind of confirm that more than likely that's paranormal, rather than if you're using an ITC device, which a lot of people like. But when it comes to an expert's opinion, I mean, they can maybe verify it, but then there's just too many different factors of what it could be when it comes to ITC. So, I do like ITC, but I don't use it as much as some people do.
Right.
That way. But, so yeah, video and audio is my go-to.
That's the one thing that I had picked up watching your stuff, and I was like, I like that. There you don't have all this stuff going off, and REM pods going off, and then music boxes, all the beeps and everything. And it also gives you the ability, because you don't have something chirping and going off, to be able to pick up something if there was something there.
Sure.
Maggie, when are you coming east?
East as far as where?
And I want to welcome Marcus to the chat.
Hey, Marcus. Thanks for tuning in.
Well, wait.
East. I was out east most of last year. I was up in Pennsylvania and New York and West Virginia. So I don't know where she's at, but I do a lot of traveling out east. I need to go out west more. I don't go out west enough.
Yeah. So what is your opinion on all these paranormal apps? I mean, you see so many people using them more and more.
I personally don't mess with them whatsoever. Never have, and I probably won't. Um, just not something that I can significantly say that it's. I think there's more false positives using them than there is actual results. That's just my opinion. I prefer not to use them. Yeah, yeah. But teach
Right.
their own. Some
Right.
people get some good stuff on there, and sometimes, they got the Ovilus app that's kind of like the Ovilus, and sometimes you'll get words that kind of correspond with what you're talking about or what you're asking. But that's kind of few far in between. Normally, it's just spitting out random words and
Yeah.
that have no relevance to the location or what you're doing. So again, like I said, I kind of just stay away from that
I agree
myself.
with you on that. It's there's too much false positive. Um, let's see. Maggie was saying Penhurst, White Hill Mansion, Fort. What is that?
Oh, that's
Mifflin.
Maggie Dunn. Okay. Yeah, Maggie,
Yeah.
I know I got to come out and see you.
And Wayne says, I guess he wants to know when you're going to come out to Trans Allegheny.
We're working on Trans Allegheny this year. We're looking at a date in July. I'm just not sure when yet, but we'll probably be coming out there in July.
And Selena has another question. Would you consider coming to Texas to go to the Goatman Bridge, Yorktown Memorial Hospital, or any other location?
Yes, I got invited to come to Texas to go to what's that house called? Mineral Wells House or Mineral Wells, Texas, to that
Yeah.
house that's down there. I got invited to go there, so I'll try to get that in this year. And then the person that invited me also wants to go to that Goatman Bridge, so just a matter of getting down there. We were supposed to go down there and do a documentary on the hotel that JFK died in, and we
Oh,
were
wow.
working on putting that together, and it was looking pretty good. But then it's a government-owned facility, so they kind of stepped in the last minute, and there's too much red tape to cross when it comes to government facilities, so we had to cancel that. So, but I'm still going to get to Texas sometime this year. It's just a matter of when.
She's probably going to hit you up.
Yeah.
That's where she is, and she's just so, ready to get with somebody and investigate. And she does a pretty good job. She's old school too.
Okay. There's another fellow that lives down in southern Texas that invited me to some kind of, wouldn't say it. It's kind of like a school, but it's not a school. I don't know. I remember how he described it, but he wanted me to come out there and check it out too. So.
Oh wow,
that's a few things in Texas to check out.
Do you do anything special before and after an investigation? To kind of prevent anything to attach or follow you home and whatnot?
I don't personally. Some of my teammates do, and then depending on who I'm with, some of the people that I investigate with do special prayers and stuff like that. I do have protective items that'll protect me. I got some holy water, and I got a crucifix that was blessed, but I don't really wear them too much because I feel like if wearing them, that's gonna distract,
interfere,
whatever's trying to interact with me. So I'd rather not have them on and wear them and take a chance of not getting interacted with. So,
right.
But they're close by. I normally have them, in my case with me anywhere I go, but I don't do anything special. And to this point, as long as I've been doing this, I really haven't had the need to take it to that level to where I need to, wear any blessed objects or anything like that. So,
right. Because I feel the same way with you. I mean, I've heard other people, they went overboard and literally got nothing, and they were like, I think I went a little too far with all the protections and everything. So, and I'm sorry, Marcus says eat Mexican food before keeps them away.
That'll definitely do it, Marcus. It'll definitely do it.
Okay. Selena says, I have got to ask you this. Which is more comfortable investigating in boxers, briefs, or commando?
I'm gonna say boxers. I got these silky boxers, so they're a little more comfortable, especially if I'm chained up and blindfolded somewhere in a location.
Think.
So a little more comfortable on the boys downstairs, I guess.
Right. I just wanted to welcome Crow in. Hello, Crow. Marcus is Commando. Oh my god. Have you had anything ever follow you home?
No, I haven't. There was a time we were at an investigation, and my younger brother, was with us, and out of nowhere, it was almost like something attached to him or got in him for a second because we were at an event. We were having a meet and greet, and he was in the kitchen of this old jail. And I walked through, but I was walking through to take some other people through the jail, and I looked at him, and he just had this crazy look on his face. I didn't think none of it. I went about my business, and I ran a group through the jail and did a little thing with them. I came out when I was done, and I was on the porch, and I could see my brother across the street with one of my teammates. And as I walked over there, I was like, "What's going on? Are you all right?" And he said to him, "I was standing there in the kitchen, and something just came over me. I was looking at the guest, and I just wanted to punch him in the face and tell him, get the hell out of here." He's like, "I don't know what it was." He even seen my son, which is his nephew, and he's like, "I saw Cody, and I just wanted to tell Cody to shut the hell up and get out of my face." And then the other teammate of mine, Scott, seen him and seen his strange behavior and took him outside to get him out of the building for a little while. And then whatever it was kind of backed off or went away. But me, myself, I've never personally experienced anything like that. And my brothers are a lot like me as far as uh, how we investigate and the methods we use. And, you know, he wouldn't lie about something like that. So for my brother to come out and say that happened, you can best believe that something got a hold of him for a second. So
Wow.
because
That's crazy.
we keep it real about everything we do. We don't just tell stories or make stuff up to get
Right.
likes. You know, what we do and what we say is guaranteed for the most part.
Let's see. Hang on, I gotta go back up because I saw the question. Uh where'd it go? Maggie, where did she go? I saw her ask a question asking about Wildwood, which she should. Oh, no, it's Wayne. Any suggestions on approaching Wildwood?
The two areas that we got the most activity in was the basement, and then there's a room up on the very top floor with a bunch of dolls in it. I got some pretty good EVPs out of that room. And then there's a set of stairs that are on the side of the house that leads you up to different floors. Set something up there on them steps, whether it's a REM pod or maybe some motion activated lights or something of that nature. But there seemed to be a lot of shadow play and a lot of things going on in that particular hallway. He'll know what I'm talking about when he gets there. It's hard to explain, but it's a pretty active location. And then there was a little boys' room that we got some pretty good EVPs out of too. Can't remember the boy's name. But yeah, just be prepared. Do a lot of EVP sessions. Relate to the building and the history of the building with the deaths that took place there, and just be you. Talk to them like they're humans.
Yep.
And be respectful, and relate to their situation, and you should get some good stuff.
So I just wanted to welcome Janine and Black Rainbow. Welcome. Thank you
Hello.
for being here. Marcus's why is it always the basement?
Yeah, that's a good question, brother. Well, I mean, in that particular basement, that's where they have the embalming tables, and that's where they did the electrical shock treatment and stuff of that nature.
Oh,
So, it just has a little more of a tragedy down there, or tragic things happening. And then it's just a basement, I guess. Everybody, there's a lot of people that get freaked out over these old buildings and their
Right.
old basements. I was just up in Fort Wayne, Indiana over the weekend at a place called the Bell Mansion. And that basement was huge, dark, creepy. And, and a lot of the people that were there for the event were just kind of just already hyped up because of the basement being so scary. And nothing even happened yet, but just being down in that basement, their anxiety started running overflow, I guess. So it's just one of those things, you got to keep the right mind state when you're going into a dark, creepy basement, and just know, okay, if the lights are on, it's just going to be a basement, but people let basements or attics intimidate them a lot,
Because Bell Mansion is a kind of new location that's just popped up, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah, they're just open for investigations either in December or January. It's an old funeral home. It was a funeral home for over, I think it was 92 years.
Yep.
So the place definitely seen its share of, sadness and emotions running through the whole building. Yeah, it was a pretty fantastic location. I'm definitely going to get back out there and give it another run with just a few select people instead of, we it was a meet and greet situation. So I really couldn't get into it as well as I would like to, but nonetheless, yeah, it's a pretty fabulous location, beautiful building, original woodwork everywhere, pocket doors, wood floors.
Oh, it's gorgeous. It's gorgeous.
It is.
I've tried. I'm working. They are so busy. I mean, people are just flocking there like crazy.
Mm-hmm.
But I've been in contact with the owners because I wanted to interview them because that place is just amazing. It's gorgeous.
It is. It really is. And they're amazing. They got amazing group of people, the owners and their staff. They run the place very well, and they got good intentions behind everything they're doing, and they present the place well. They keep it well kept, and it's a pretty fabulous place. I gotta admit, I was pretty impressed. It's hard to impress me when it comes to these locations, and I was pretty impressed by that location.
Yep. Have you ever gone to a location with certain expectations on how the investigation will go, and it ends up going like a totally different way than what you expected?
Yeah, there's a location here in Indiana that everybody swears by. It's called the Monroe House, and it's the one Nick Groff and Katrina went to years back and did an episode. And Nick found some human remains in a crawl space of his home. So they had to shut down an investigation, have the police come out and do their thing, whatever. But I've been there on multiple occasions, and I just feel like people hype it up too much. I know teams that'll swear by it. That's the craziest place I've ever been. And I'm like, I've been there 4 or 5 times, and it's just always so quiet for me. And I always give it another chance. I always tell myself, I'm not coming back here. I'm staying away from the house. But I go back, and I mean, the last time I was there was probably 3 weeks ago, and I had some decent activity in the basement. Nothing to get that excited about, but I finally had a personal experience, I guess.
Right.
But and then there's other places. Bobby Mackey's is one of my favorite locations, and I love Bobby Mackey to death. Me and him hang out all the time. We'll sit in his little green room and pass around the moonshine, But I that was probably one of the most anticipating challenges I was looking forward to, thinking, okay, this is Bobby Mackey's, the portal to hell's in the basement.
Yep.
It's going to be a crazy experience to be locked up and chained up and down here next to that portal. And I was pretty hyped up about it. I'm down there, and for the first few minutes, it's one of the more nerve-wracking experiences I've had as far as, anticipation. And just to find out that, I mean, it was just, I was down there for, 45 minutes to an hour, and it was just quiet. Nothing at all. I didn't get anything. Nothing on evidence review, no video, no audio, just completely just quiet, So that
Mm-hmm.
was pretty disappointing to me. So now when I talk about Bobby Mackey's and people ask me about it, I'm like, yeah, Bobby Mackey's, it's a cool place. Me, myself, I personally have a better time going down there and hanging out with Bobby than I
Right.
do investigate. So, but that's not saying the place ain't haunted. I mean, it does get a little active. I think the best piece of evidence I've gotten from there is we had a stage camera on the main bar, and it picked up a shadow figure walking down the other side of the bar from about halfway all the way down and then disappearing at the other end of the bar. So that's probably the most significant piece of evidence I've ever caught from Bobby's.
Wow. That's a lot because I've watched many investigations there and it's just been quiet,
Marcus is asking.
very quiet. Yeah, Marcus,
Marcus,
have you been
yes,
to
I've been
Crown
to.
Point Jail?
That's my hometown hunt. That's my favorite location here in Indiana. Sandy and Jackie and the other volunteers that work that place are wonderful. I've had some crazy experiences in that place. I've been touched. Uh, I've been caught some fantastic evidence. I was chained up in John Dillinger's cell to the pole that's in the middle of the cell there. And I had a K2 meter and EDI and some other devices and 2 or 3 cameras watching me from different angles. And I didn't know it at the time because, obviously I was blindfolded, but upon evidence review, watching a video, that K2 meter that was sitting on the bars, within the first few minutes of the video, the K2 meter starts lighting up. And there's this weird effect to it. At first, I thought maybe it's the bars, but if you've been to that jail, those bars are rusty and crusty. They're not new at all, so they don't have any shine to them, no reflectiveness off of the bars. But if you're watching a video, it looks like almost like a ghostly hand right there by the K2 meter trying to manipulate the K2 meter like it's doing this.
Oh wow.
I yelled for my son, I said, Cody, come in here and take a look at this. What do you think? He's like, he thought the same thing, Dad. That looks like a hand or something trying to play with the K2 meter.
Wow.
So, I didn't, I thought it was cool. Later on in the video, the K2 meter did the same thing. It didn't have that same effect behind it. So that kind of made me feel better about what we caught the first time. Because if it would have went off the second time and still had that effect, and I would have thought maybe more about debunking it, thinking it could have been something. But the second time, it didn't have that same effect. But they always find, Sandy's really good about finding the deepest, darkest places in that jail to stick me at. My wife had something growl in her ear while we were filming there a couple of years back. We had another female with us that was just a guest for the night in a solitary area, and we were filming in that area. And my son was filming, and he heard someone, but at first he thought she was laughing, and then he heard something again. It sounded like she was crying, so he turned around and asked her, "Are you crying?" Immediately, she jumped up, ran out of the solitary area, went to the stairs, stood at the top of the stairs, and said, "Whatever you are, leave me alone. Don't push me down these stairs." And then continued to run down the stairs and out of the building. So the story is that something in that area, the males don't like females. Sandy, the caretaker of the place, has been choked in that area. Multiple women that I've been with there have been, experienced strange and unusual things, growls, being touched. I mean, you name it. There's a real jerk in that area. Let's put it that way. But yeah, that's one of my favorite locations. If you haven't been there, it's an old jail from the 1800s. But it's more like a mini prison. There's like 150 jail cells in this old jail. And of course, on the flip side of all that, that's where they had John Dillinger back in 1934 when he escaped from there. Now, I'm a big outlaw and gangster fan, so to be able to have the best of both worlds going there, to John Dillinger history, and it's haunted, so that makes it twice as nice for me.
Oh, now I'm gonna have to go.
Oh,
that intrigues me
awesome.
right there.
It's awesome.
Wayne has a question. How much do you think investigating is pseudoscience or mind tricks, or one of the both?
I would say I would lean more towards the scientific side. And as far as what was the other part of that?
Pseudoscience or mind tricks.
Okay. And as far as mind tricks, I believe when it comes to the paranormal field, a lot of it is mind tricks. There's a lot of it that you should really pay attention to, and you should be aware of your surroundings and how natural elements take place in certain locations. And for goodness sake, I mean, you got to go in there with the right mind to begin with. You can't go in there nervous or jittery. You got to go in there with the right mind state. I go into locations expecting nothing to happen, but then hoping something will happen. You see what I'm saying? I expect nothing, but hoping when it's all said and done that I got something. So for one, I don't let myself down. I don't get myself overhyped about a location. And, a lot of people in their field, they get themselves too worked up, which it's okay to be worked up. It's okay to be excited about a location, but you got to go in there with a clear mind and try to make sense of the location and what's going on, because we were on investigation one time. We were in the basement of a place in Illinois, and I had a newer guy with me, and he hadn't been out in the field too much, and kept thinking he was hearing whistling. He's like, I hear whistling. Something's whistling down here. And I finally heard it, what he was talking about. And I was like, that's the wind coming in from the crack in the door. The door was barely open, but it was real windy that day. And it was blowing. And it did sound like someone was whistling. But it was something that was easily to debunk once I heard it. And I explained it to him. He's like, oh, good capture. I'm glad you caught that, because I really thought it was someone whistling, So you got to really be careful and try to debunk as much as you can. Even when coming to presenting evidence, I try to go through my video and audio multiple times, try to figure out what it could be that's causing this effect or this illusion or whatever it may be before I even present it out there. And then when I do present it, I don't present it as paranormal evidence. I present it as, hey, this is something we captured. Give me your thoughts, give me your opinions, and I let it go from there. So, I mean, there's some people out there that'll post evidence from every investigation they go to. And, unfortunately, some of it can be debunked real easy by just, taking a second look at it to look what's going on. And I think more people should be more cautious about how to review their evidence and try to make better sense of things before they put it out there. Because then you're not going to have everybody bashing you on your videos like, oh, that's fake, or that's this, or that's that. So out of all the places I investigated last year, I probably presented evidence from like maybe 10 times last year of different captures. I mean, that's how strategic we are about reviewing our evidence and what we put out there for everyone to see.
Yeah. I mean, because I think what I like to tell people is, and this is a good thing because they've stopped teaching it, critical thinking. And it's for, not only investigating, but us watching the investigation. You got to be a critical thinker. You got to, does this make sense? Or is it a little over the top? Yeah.
Normally, if I present anything, with all the locations I go to, a lot of people like to see my fear challenges. If I don't do them live on Facebook or TikTok, they like to see the video of that. So normally I'll post that because everybody likes those. Oh, shit. Oh, T-Dog's here now. He's at Bobby Mackey's, or he's here. So I try to put those on so everybody can see those experiences.
Right.
But,
Marcus's Bell Mansion had Homer von, in America, we would say Meter, but he was part of the Dillinger gang. But, honey, can you come in real quick?
Hello.
How would you say his name? Homer von?
Homer van Meter.
Mater. Okay.
Thank you.
Sorry.
Was
So he was.
part of
I
doing
didn't
what he
know
was doing.
that.
I didn't know that either.
That's interesting.
Oh, that's Marcus. Yeah, he was up there with me this past Saturday night. What's going on, brother? Didn't realize what Marcus it was till I seen his little picture on the page. Yeah, great guy. He was with us there Saturday.
Selena says it's really cool to see someone that likes to debunk as you go.
Yeah,
Which yes,
and you have to. You got to as
Yeah.
much as you can, because if we're in a home doing a residential case for a client, we're not going to go there and hype their heads up more than what they probably already are, or give me any more anxiety that they're already experiencing, and walking in the door and saying, yes, the home is haunted. I'm going to look and do what I can to debunk what experiences they were having to help ease that anxiety and that all that mental confusion, I guess you want to call it, whatever you want to call it, and help them feel safe in their home. So yes, we try to debunk as much as we can. And if it's something that we can't debunk, I'm still not going to tell you it's paranormal. I'm going to say that's unusual. I can't explain why it's happening. But I try not to just, put that stamp on anything and say, oh, that's paranormal. I try not to do that in too many occasions at all. Just because it's not,
I just wanted to welcome Amber's Paranormal World, Worlds, excuse me. Welcome.
Hello.
Selena has another question for you. Do you charge for residential investigations?
No, not at all. We've never charged anybody for an investigation. We never will. We do it strictly to help the families in need and try to, do what we can to.
A lot of people are shocked because that's one of the questions I always ask everybody, because believe it or not, I research people before I ask them, or if they ask, I'm like, I got to research you before I can say yes or no. And you won't believe how many people charge for a residential case. And that always throws people off when I ask them that, because to me, most of these people are at the end of their rope trying to figure out what is going on, trying to figure out if they're crazy or are they being attacked. And so a lot of these people that do reach out, this is their like last hope of getting help. And I don't understand, you should, I don't believe people should be taken advantage of it that way.
No, I agree with you 100%. And then the flip side of that is, you got these people that are trying to charge you, and they probably, not going to say they don't know what they're doing, but they're probably not going to do it significant enough to get them the answers that they need. So that's the other downfall of that. They make a quick buck and probably going to leave the homeowners in a worse state off than what they were before they got there, hyping their heads up about craziness. And that's just wrong.
And Marcus is $1 million if you have a demon. Oh God. So since you do residential cases, what is your longest case that you've dealt with?
Well,
and I know you can't.
We're still working on one in Greenwood, Indiana. We've been working on it for a couple months now. We started it in the beginning of winter, and it's April now, so it's been 4 or 5 months we've been working on it. That's probably the longest one to date, anyway. I mean, we had a case over in Cleveland, I think it was. I don't remember. It's been a few years back, and we traveled out there a few different times to help this guy out there. And we tried to do as much as we could for the guy, and this guy would send me videos all hours of the day and night. And I would always try to help him figure out what was going on. So one night he started buying paranormal equipment to try to do things himself. And I was like, yeah, maybe you should. That way you can learn how to use the equipment and figure things out. So one night he sends me a video he bought a brand new REM pod, and he had it sitting on his kitchen table. And there's a washing machine 2 feet away from the REM pod, and he's got the washing machine on, and he's wondering why the REM pod's lighting up. It's going crazy, Tim. It's going crazy. Look at it. It won't shut off. It won't shut off. I'm like, bro, it's a REM pod. It's got a motion sensor on it, so if there's motion going on around it, it's gonna go off. He's like, no, no, no. I'm like, brother, you got a washing machine right next to it that's on. You can hear it on in the video. Turn the washing machine off and see what it does then. But he got so upset that I told him that. He just like, never talked to me again. I'm like, brother, what do you want from him? I'm trying to be honest with you. If I tell you it's paranormal, it's just going to put you in a worse state than what you already are, because you're already, having some issues with making sense of things. I'm not going to say he's crazy, but he's having issues making sense of things. I don't want to make it worse for you by telling you, yeah, okay, yeah, it's going off. It's the damn washing machine. Turn your washing machine off and the REM pod will stop. So I get some crazy stuff, man. I get some crazy calls. I got a call once from a guy in Terre Haute, Indiana. It was the brother of the guy that was having issues. The brother called me and said that his brother was having some issues. Can I speak to his brother? So I was like, yeah, sure, okay. So his brother gets on the phone, and I start talking to him. I was like, what kind of experiences are you having? He's like, well, I've lived here for 20 plus years. I've shot and killed and stabbed over 200 aliens. There's bullet holes and knife holes in the walls to back that up. And when I go to the bathroom, I pull my pants down and there's bugs and weird stuff all in my underwear. Then he proceeded to tell me at night when he's sleeping that something tries to probe him. And I was kind of just like weirded out by the whole story. I was like, well, can I talk to your brother again, please? He put his brother back on the phone. I'm like, sir, I don't know if I can help you with this particular situation. I really can't set up a camera to watch your brother's butthole all night. You might want to seek some help elsewhere, because that's something that we don't do. So yeah, I mean, sometimes you get some crazy calls and people will have some stories, but the guy sounded very genuine, like he really thought this stuff was going on. Maybe it was going on. Maybe these things were going on.
Right.
He sounded pretty sincere. And I felt bad, but I mean, what can I do? I can't film you while you're sleeping and whatever's going on in your bed.
Or when you're going to the bathroom.
Right, exactly.
Who wants to see that? I mean,
yeah. And then we've had people send us videos and audio. And at first it may look pretty cool. Like, oh man, that looks pretty interesting. Just to find out things were staged. We went to a house one night, and it's like one of those little toy walkers that the kids have. They can walk with them and make little noise for like 2-year-old, 3-year-olds. And the video he sent us, this walker went across the room by itself, like 4 or 5 feet, give or take. And at first it was interesting, but then once we looked at the video a few more times, we realized he started off in a different room, then went into that room with the camera. He's like, I just looked in this room and look what I see. And then he brought the phone over to that room, and you could see the walker moving forward. And at first, with the low volume watching it on the phone, you really couldn't tell. But once we got back home and processed the video and enhanced the sound, he had some kind of little remote control car pushing the walker across the room. I was like, and we went and tried to help this family out, because this was like an emergency situation. They were, right. Can you come tonight? But once we got back home and nothing was really happening while we were there, we started reviewing and he sent us another video of a little kid's rocking chair rocking in the front room. But he started the video off the same way. Well, look, guys, I come into the living room, and then he pans it over to the rocking chair, and the rocking chair was moving. Well, if you look really, really close in the video and zoom in, you can see a string coming down, almost like a piece of thread or something. So I was like, and we called the guy out on it. It's like, why did you waste our time coming out there? We enhanced the audio and the video on the 2 videos that he sent us, and so it's clearly easy to see that you're faking this stuff and wasting our time. So you gotta be careful when it comes to dealing with residential cases too, because some people are not what they claim to be, or just looking for attention or whatever. So it can be frustrating sometimes to spend your time, your gas money to go to these locations just to have people playing around with you.
That's awful.
Yes.
Robbie has a question for you. What camera do you prefer using?
I normally use a Sony 4K. I don't know the particular model number of it at the moment, but it's got the night vision and IR light built into it. Plus, I can hook up the extra IR lights to it. So Sony is my preferred brand. Anything that shoots 4K nowadays is pretty good.
And Marcus says the only thing that scares him about residents is you piss them off, and then the family has to live with it.
Well, I don't piss them off. I don't go in there provoking. I just try to establish some kind of communication. But I am assuming that there are probably some people in the field that go into residential cases and try to provoke to get answers, and that might piss the spirits off. But I don't go in there that I go into every situation accordingly, and try to be respectful and try to relate to what other claims there may be or the history of the location to get my answers. I don't provoke.
Right. And I mean, I don't even know why you would want to. I mean,
yeah, I mean, that would be the worst thing to do, is go into someone's house and provoke whatever may be there. And yeah, no, I
right.
do that to somebody.
No. Welcome, Patty, and the Reaper. And he he says he came into the probing.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry about that.
Yeah. No. I mean, it. I have heard nightmare stories, not from hauntings, but from the people that live in the home doing things, just crazy things. I mean, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Let's see. Because I had to hold on Robbie, so the chat is gone. I'm just making sure. Marcus says, "Do you believe in Bigfoot?"
I believe there's some kind of creature out there. I mean, it's been spotted multiple times all throughout the world. So I believe there's something out there deep in the woods. I can't explain if it's a Bigfoot or what it may be, but I definitely believe it's a possibility. Yes, I would say that. I've got a lot of friends that are into it. I'm supposed to be going down to Kentucky sometime with Ernie Pack and Denise Pack out to the Squatch Man's Woods. Some guy that lives down there that's big into Bigfoot, and go down there and camp out and have a bonfire and look for Bigfoot. So we'll see how it goes. I haven't done it yet, so it'll be my first time.
Oh, there you go. First time for everything. I've actually had people, because both sides of my family are from the North Georgia mountains, and they're like, "Oh, you must have alien stories, Bigfoot stories." I was like, "No, no," and they're like, "Really?" And I was like, "Yeah, no, sorry." I mean, not that I mean, is it possible? Sure, anything's possible.
And I think if you do experience it, it's going to be when you least expect it. I don't think there's too many people out there that are exploring for Bigfoot and actually see it. I think it's the people that are out there hiking or just in a random location that just happen to come across it.
Yep. And I wanted to say, welcome, David. Hello, finally. He says, just say it. People are nuts.
Some people are. Some people need some reality checks, I guess. But
Yes. And Marcus says, my only thing about Bigfoot is with all the technology, we still don't have any decent pictures or videos.
right.
There you go.
Well, true story.
So you've done so many um, locations, and I mean, I know this is going to be a little hard, but do you have any just top of your list favorites?
As I said, the Crown Point Jail out there in Crown Point, Indiana, is one of my favorites here in Indiana. Um, I really like it up in New York at a place called Kings Park. It's a massive, massive property with, you know, huge buildings, and it was a psychiatric center or community back in the days, and that place is just over the top. It's just they got tunnels that run underneath the whole property to about 30 or 40 different buildings, um, which those tunnels are creepy. But just lots of different kinds of activity. I mean, if you want to talk about seeing shadows, that's a place where you'll see shadows throughout the
Oh,
whole night
wow.
you're there. I mean, it's just nonstop shadows. I'm trying to think. I had a good time at St. Albans in Virginia. That was a
That's
pretty
a good
decent
one.
location. Yeah, St. Albans was pretty good. Um, I really like old jails for some reason. I like old jails. Those are
Yeah.
normally my favorites. And I mean, there's probably a couple more that I'm not thinking about. Uh, Valeska was a really cool place. Malvern Manor was really neat. Um, Waiting to go to Edinburgh. We'll be going there in August. So really anticipate that. That's probably the most between Trans-Allegheny and Edinburgh Manor. Those are the two ones that I'm really looking forward to this year.
Mhm.
And I'm kind of hyped up for and hoping they turn out as good as I hear they are.
Yeah.
So
I know, like there was one thing, like you were talking about old jails, and
mhm.
um, down in St. Augustine, there's an old jail,
Okay.
active, crazy active, and the team that was there had a medium, and it's not a very big jail, but it has top mezzanine.
All
And
right.
one of the girls who was a medium was up there, and people heard her start screaming, and everybody's coming in all directions to get to her, and was very shocked that she, screamed. And she's like, there was a big man that just did a dead run at me. And she says
Oh
he went
wow.
through me, felt it. I mean, she was shaking. I mean, I was like, ooh, that
Yeah, that's
sounds
pretty
interesting.
intense. That's
Yeah.
pretty intense experience there. Huh.
Mm-hmm. Um,
Wow.
Marcus says, all right, Marcus says, if I go to Crown Point, should I call you first to see if you can make it?
No, definitely, brother. Definitely.
And the
I
Reaper
love Crown
says
Point.
King Parks is a place they want to go to.
Yes. Kings
Mm-hmm.
Park and Lynchworth Village out there and
Yep.
are pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And Long Island. Kings Park and Lynchworth Village are in Long Island, and they're both extremely active locations.
Yeah. And I know you had mentioned this.
Hmm.
You've experienced getting touched. Have you been scratched? And what can you describe with the feeling? Because I get that a lot. People are like, "Oh, you've been touched, you've been scratched." What does it feel like?
Well, I haven't been scratched. I've been touched a couple times. My first time experience something touching me, I was sleeping in a jail cell in the Harvard City Jail. I had multiple cameras set up, my recorder set up, and I was asleep, fully asleep. And something came up at some point in the night and kind of like either thumped me or poked me really hard in the back of the neck. and it woke me up, but I didn't freak out. I just laid there. My body was kind of in shock. I could feel that staticky electric feeling going through my body and my mind. I'm just like, what was that? But I laid there and I remained calm, hoping that it would do it again or I'd have another experience. But it never happened again. So, but that was the first time I was ever touched. And then actually at Crown Point, me and my wife were sitting in an area. I think it was called, I don't know what area it was, long-term area where the long-term inmates sat. We were sitting along this bench, and at one point, I felt something run its finger across my back. But at first, I didn't pay much attention to it because I thought maybe my shirt, rubbed me the wrong way. But then a couple minutes later, my wife said the same thing. Something ran a finger down my back. I was like, really? I said, well, that just happened to me within like 2 minutes ago, but I kind of just blew it off, thinking it was my shirt, just for her to turn around and say 2 minutes later that something rubbed a finger down her back. So, but other than that, I mean, I've had moments where, it feels like something's glided past my leg or brushed up against my arm, but nothing that extreme to where, something punched me in the face or pushed me or anything of that nature. Now, my oldest son, we were at an old opera house and we were investigating, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, his neck started burning. So we pulled him out into the lobby, and he had a few scratch marks, that drew blood on the back of his neck. So he had a pretty significant, experience with that. But me personally, the worst thing was that thump, and it wasn't that bad, but it woke me up out of my sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Other than that, it's just been small things that I kind of brush off here and there, unless someone else says the same thing, then okay, well, maybe I did get touched, because that's just how I am. I've been doing it so long that the little things, if they're real small and really not as significant, I just kind of brush them off like, it's probably my mind playing tricks on me, or it's just a natural reaction in my body. Because even when I got touched at the jail that first time, I was trying to debunk it and figure it out. Was it a muscle spasm? Was it, what could have caused that? But then the more I thought about it, a muscle spasm is more of a, I don't know, kind of a spasm,
Yeah.
This is more like a thump, something like either poke me really hard or kind of thump me in the back of the neck. So
Wow.
I'm pretty sure that, something touched me because they woke me up out of my sleep for sure. But
Wow.
but I've been lucky though. I gotta say I've been lucky. I haven't been scratched or totally just abused, I guess you want to call it.
Well, saying that, Marcus says I was sexually assaulted at Rhodes Hotel.
Okay.
That's
crazy. That's crazy. Rhodes Hotel is a pretty calm place. So you got a sexually assault at the Rhodes Hotel. I don't know what you were doing, brother. You might want to wear some different cologne next time or something. I don't know. You might have been smelling too good for him.
Oh my goodness. I saw that. I was like, that's oh my goodness, that's a story in itself.
All right. I laid in the back bedroom of that hotel where the son died of TB. The last couple months of his life, he spent quarantined in that room.
Oh.
And I reenacted that moment that he had there. And man, I was down to my skivvies underneath the sheet, playing a part of a TB patient. Asking for my mother, mom, I need you. I can't breathe, and it was definitely a different experience. And you could tell once I start playing the part, the room the environment got a lot different. It was almost like emotions were pouring back into the room, I guess, maybe.
Yeah.
I didn't really experience anything as far as activity other than that, but it definitely took a different vibe to it. But Road Hotel, every time I've been there a few times now, me and Mike, the owner, are good friends, and it's always been more of a peaceful kind of place. I mean, yeah, there is activity there, but I haven't experienced anything like being sexually assaulted. So,
Well, he does say that the first time getting touched was at Rhodes for him.
okay. Or
Hopefully,
maybe
it
it
was a
was
nice touch.
maybe it was the female. There was a female that used to run the brothel there. Maybe it was her.
Oh,
I don't know.
Selena says for her, it's never the same feeling when touched. What's annoying though is when they play with my hair.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think women experience that more than anything. Most of the women that I talk to in the field, it's a lot of that hair pulling or
Yes.
hair tugging or whatever. So that's pretty common to hear.
It's annoying. Trust me. Whatever's here, whatever I call them visitors, and it loves. I think it's a child because it loves just. It doesn't pull my hair. It just kind of lifts the back of my hair up and just kind of.
Right.
And I'm like, okay, you can stop. I mean, my kid is one thing, but something you
Well,
can't
I think
see.
it's the thing with hair is most women wear that good smelling, or they use that good smelling shampoo and conditioners, and it smells real good, So I think sometimes, I don't know, if I'm snuggled up with the wife watching TV or something, and I catch a whiff of her shampoo, it's like, hey, that smells good. So I think that's more or less, I think maybe they smell it, or or it's like looking at a bunny. Oh, that's soft. I want to touch it, kind of deal. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Something to do with that. Who knows? But it's
Well,
definitely
it's
pretty.
interesting. Marcus says he was sitting on Sarah's bed talking about sex and costs. I had a hand touch my upper thigh by my crotch and slide down to my knee.
Oh, well. Did you leave a dollar on the nightstand when you left?
Oh my God. Did you really have? Oh my.
I mean, people have some crazy experiences, man. I mean, it doesn't surprise me. I've heard some crazy stories about people being touched in some crazy places. Doesn't surprise
Yeah,
me
well,
at all. I mean,
my husband had to be a smartass. Said last time I touched my wife, she got pregnant. Wow.
That's happened to me a few times as well, Ed. I know what you mean.
Oh, thank you.
The last time was in Vegas. So
So what is your opinion on people who get scratched? Because you hear so many people go, oh, I was scratched, it's demonic. Do you think it could be something innocent or nefarious?
yeah, I don't think it necessarily that it's demonic, and people are always, and if you notice, a lot of people that are claiming to get scratch, it's always 3 marks. I don't know what is out there in the spirit world that has 3 fingers or whatever it could be. Whether I don't know. I kind of feel funny about that because everybody relates to 3 scratches as being demonic, and yeah, I don't know. I honestly don't have a very strong opinion about that. To me, I look at the individual, and if it's someone I know, I try to evaluate the situation and decide whether it's something that I think it could be, self-inflicting without them. Because there's some people out there, if you're in a location and it's hot and you got bugs flying around or whatever, you might, a mosquito bite, you might scratch yourself. And there's a lot of things that people can do unconsciously and not realize it until after the fact, So I think a lot of it could be that. And as far as demonic activity, yes. As far as demonic activity and the 3 scratches, I think that's just something else that was brought into the field years ago, and it's just kind of stuck around, and everybody just goes. I mean, you know how it is. Once it's an urban legend or something's told, it just carries on throughout time. So I don't really give it too much attention.
what I usually tell people is, are you sure it's demonic? Are you sure? Or were you feeling, because the demon word gets thrown around too much. And I was like,
Exactly.
we don't know. I mean, I say this all the time. We've barely scratched the surface of the paranormal world. And could it be a spirit that didn't realize, wanted your attention, didn't realize that they scratched you? I was like, you gotta have to look at it.
Of course. Or I mean, it could be a little kid trying to reach out and
Mm-hmm.
you know, stretching to reach out for you and then
Yep.
come back down. I mean, it could be
Mm-hmm.
multiple things. Yeah.
Yep.
Very so often would I even consider it being, something demonic doing it. Could
And
be just a
Marcus,
jokester.
yep, like Marcus says, don't think it's demonic. Some people accidentally scratch themselves. Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially if you see like a little mark.
Mm-hmm.
And Rob, he's what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas.
No doubt. No
doubt. And Selena too says, I don't think demons are as common as we think.
No, they definitely aren't. They definitely
aren't. Have you or anyone you've investigated with had to leave because they were so badly affected?
Not me personally. I've been around many of people out in the field when we're investigating that will come down and get dizzy or feel nauseous, or get have some kind of weird experience. We were investigating what was that place? Madison Seminary, and there's a particular area on the female side where one of the orderlies would rape the women, and my teammate Linda, she couldn't walk but halfway down this hallway. It was like almost like there was a force field or something there right there stopping her every time she tried to walk down the hallway. And so me and my other teammate Frank, we took her arm in arm to be able to walk her down the rest of the hallway into this particular room that belonged to this particular lady, because she couldn't do it. It was almost like maybe her spirit was stopping her, saying, "Don't go back there. That's where the man is, the one that raped me." I mean, that's what the conclusion we kind of came up to, because no matter what she did, she like just froze up right there halfway down the hallway. She couldn't go no further. Mm-hmm. And then once we picked her up and took her in the back room, just the look in her face while she was in that room was something I'll never forget. I mean, it was a look of fear, confusion, just so many different things in one. Mm-hmm. And so, eventually we just took her out of that room, and yeah, I mean, that's one thing that's always still with me, because I've never seen that happen to her. She's fearless. She walks down mm-hmm. places, she'll walk through Waverly Hills by herself, these locations by herself. So to see her act like that was pretty crazy to experience something like that and see her dealing with that. And yeah. But other than that, yeah, lots of different situations where people get headaches or different things, or they've been scratched, or so yeah, I've experienced quite a bit of that. I can't really say that I've ever had. Well, I take that back. When about a month and a half ago, when I was in Iowa, we were doing a tour of the Malvern Manor before we set up to mm-hmm. investigate that night, and I had went up into the attic area, and as soon as I got up there, I started feeling a pressure in my head, which was unusual for me because I never really have experiences like that. And I noticed it, and as we went downstairs, it kind of went away immediately. Like as soon as I left the attic space, the pressure kind of, went away. And I know that it, and I got a little journal that I write down in, and that's my little paranormal journal about different experiences and different locations that I can look back on. But other than that, I can't really recall any major experience that I've had to make me leave a location, other than you know, being locked up for an hour, chained up and blindfolded. I gotta go pee when I'm done.
Right. Marcus says, did you say she was raped?
No, she wasn't raped. One of the patients there was raped.
Patient, yeah.
And
he
think
said
she was.
Go ahead.
And we think the spirit of the woman that was raped was stopping her from going to that room, maybe because the male spirit was still there, or
yeah,
I don't know. That's the only we can come up with.
Mm-hmm. He also said during the Bell meet and greet, they had a girl freak out in the basement, overwhelmed.
Yeah, as he talking about the older lady that was there, she was kind of, because there was a moment we were down in the basement, and there's this crate down there that belonged to a Civil War soldier, I believe it was, that was killed in action, and they shipped his body back to Fort Wayne, and the crate that they shipped him in is still in the basement. And she just kind of started freaking out and saying the spirits were all around me. There's something touching me. It's cold. And then at first I was like, I noticed it. I was like, "Are you okay?" And she's like, "No, there's something around me." And but she calmed down. But later in the evening, we were upstairs, and we were in one of the master rooms, I guess, on the far side of the 3rd floor. And there were REM pods set up in each room of this floor, and there's 4 rooms. There was the servants' room, a main bedroom, a billiard room, and a poker room. And the REM pods were going off simultaneously throughout the evening while we were up there, which was pretty cool. And then some of them would go off at the same time. If you had 2 REM pods off going off in 2 different rooms. But at one point, she was up there, and they had a REM pod set back at the back of this room in this little cubby hole, which they claim that a little boy likes to hide out in. So there's a REM pod sitting in there, and I think she said the little boy's name. She told me, well, his name's Adam. I said, okay, all right. So she's standing next to this cubby hole, and the REM pod's going off. And she's like, Adam's trying to communicate with me. I think that's what she said the boy's name was, Adam. He's trying to communicate with me. He likes me. Adam likes me. I was like, ma'am, you're a little too close to the REM pod. Normally they have like a 6-foot range, and you're a little too close. No, it's Adam. Adam likes me. And I'm like, well, back away for a few feet and see if Adam still likes you.
Right.
And of course she did. She backed away for a few feet, and the REM pod stopped, and she's like, Adam, you don't like me no more? And I'm like, So, I mean, again, I was trying to help her realize what was creating the issue with the REM pod. She swore up and down that it was Adam lighting it up. And it could have been at other points of the night, maybe. But at that particular moment, when it was her, she was too close to it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I'm assuming she was some kind of sensitive or just confused. I wasn't really sure. I was trying to be nice to her either way. Because we were in the servants area, and she was by the bed, and we had a thermal camera out. And she's like, "Is that a thermal?" I was like, "Yeah, that's a thermal camera." And she's like, "Well, point over here by me, because I feel something cold next to my arm or on my arm or something like that." And so we did. We put the camera on her, and there was no code signatures. It mapped out the heat of her body, but there was no code signatures or code spots around her. But she was just, she was the one person there that night that was just having every kind of experience you could think of. Not saying she didn't have no experiences at all, but some of it was more or less because she was feeding into her own thoughts, I guess. I'm gonna be nice and leave it at that.
Yeah. Marcus says that corner, Jeff was touched and it was caught with the K2 and the SLS cam.
Oh yeah, he was telling me about it that night actually. So he knows exactly what corner I'm talking about. That little cubby hole. Yeah, he was there that night. But but other than that, we had some good activity with the REM pods. I haven't had a chance to go through all my EVPs or video from that night, so I don't know if I got any good captures or not yet. But supposedly the third floor is very, very active, and then the embalming room is very active in that area. And then, like I said, that basement, I'd love to spend some more time in that basement by myself, because it's definitely got a nice vibe to it.
Oh. So if money was no issue and you could go anywhere in the world, where would you be taking us?
Well, I always tell people there's two on the top of my list. One would be Egypt, and the other would be Alcatraz. Either one of those places would be on the top of my list. Egypt would be an expensive trip, but with all the history out there and how they did things back in those days, and just I don't know. I feel like that Egypt, the pyramids, and some of those other places, the Sphinx and stuff like that. One would think there'd be all kinds of crazy activity out there with all the rituals and different things they did back then. You would think the energy of that would just, still be around. Alcatraz would be one of my other favorites because it's Alcatraz. I'm into mobsters and gangsters and some of the most famous gangsters, out there. Spent time there, plus all the tragedy that's happened there over the years. I mean, the riots, people getting stabbed and killed, and guards, being thrown off tiers and stuff like that. Plus, it's just a cool place. I've been there before on an a tour, and we're doing a tour of the solitary, and the tour guide's like, "Hey, who wants to spend time in solitary?" Of course, I'm raising my hand. Yeah, I want to do it. I want to go hang out in solitary. They put me in that solitary cell, and there's two doors. There's like a cell door, and then there's another door that shuts behind you. You want to talk about one of the darkest places you've ever been to. I mean, that was one of the darkest, most intense places I've ever been to, and that particular cell they put me in, can't remember the guy's name, but they had some guy that was pretty, mentally unstable that spent months in that particular cell. So, I mean, call it a trick of the mind, the dark, whatever, but it definitely was a creepy feeling spending 10 minutes alone in the darkness of this crazy guy's cell. It was pretty intimidating, I'm not gonna lie. When it was all said and done, I was like, whew, thank God. Let me out.
Right. Alcatraz, I would love to do.
Yeah, I'd love to spend that. But it's hard to get into. You gotta either know somebody with a connection, or it's gonna cost you a pretty penny to get in there. I've been looking into it for a couple of years now. But the last couple of years with COVID, they kind of shut everything down out there. They don't do the tours or overnights, but I think they're starting back up with that stuff now. So it'd be nice to get out there and check out Alcatraz.
The one place I would love to go back, we went to Scotland, to Edinburgh. Oh, I want to get down in the tunnels where everybody died of famine and disease, and that place has just got it's a vibe. The city, you can feel it.
I would love to.
Go ahead.
It'd be really cool to go overseas and check out some places, overseas, Ireland, and the UK and London. I mean, there's just so many different fascinating things with history and paranormal, and just so much other stuff wrapped up in one overseas. I wish when I lived in Germany when I was younger, I wasn't really into the paranormal field back then, but I wish I would have had an interest back then, because there was a lot of cool, historical old churches and just, you name it, museums, so much stuff that now I look back at like, man, I wish I could have went there and checked the place out, on a different level rather than just a tourist thing,
See, that was we went to Luxembourg, mainly because my husband's like, well, I've never been, but because my grandfather fought, He was the second wave to come in to fight for the Battle of the Bulge. And
Oh wow.
so many castles. I mean, I've never seen it is a tiny country. It took us like I think 40 minutes to go the longest width of it. But to be packed full of castles was absolutely amazing. And my husband asked me, he goes, "You never picked anything up?" I said, "Because I shut everything off. I was there for the history. I didn't want to be bugged or pestered. I wanted the history because I was soaking it up."
Yeah,
and it's amazing.
I would be too. Yeah, and see, that's some things that people don't look at in the paranormal field. You know, it's not all about just the paranormal. The history of some of these places are just fascinating. That have been around for hundreds of years or centuries, and it's fascinating the architectural side of some of the castles, the buildings, whatever it may be. I mean, sometimes that's more exciting than the actual investigation for me. A lot of times.
That was what it was for me because I just shut. I mean, to see a castle in Rome and actually see what it looked like as a functioning castle during the no updates or anything like that. And one it was ruins and it was built in BC. And I just stood there and my husband's like, "What are you doing?" And I was like, "I'm soaking it up." I was like,
you're taking it in. Yes, you kind of take yourself back in history and have that little movie playing in your head, I guess you want to call it. Excuse me. And just kind of thinking about what happened. That's how it was when I went to Gettysburg for the first time. When I first stepped on that battlefield, it was almost like reliving that moment without reliving it. I mean, you just had all these thoughts going through your head of the bullets, the cannon fire, the horses, and the cavalry riding through. I mean, places like that have a big impact on you. If you give it that chance and let it sink in, it really has a big impact on you. The history of that, these different locations are fascinating, and I think that's one of the more favorite things about what I do and the traveling I do is because I get to see a lot of that history of these different places, and it's fascinating to me.
The interesting thing is I had two different channels that I followed, and they were on the same battlefield, exactly in the same area, and both of them had a cannon fire.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty common. It really is. It's more common than what you would think.
Yeah, I thought because I heard it on one, and then I watched another team that came through there, and I was like, "Whoa, wait." It just was amazing to me. Marcus says he wants to go to Dracula's castle.
That would be badass.
That would be that would be so cool. I got very disappointed right when the whole ghost hunting stuff was going on TV, and they said we're going to run a spirit box. They're like, "See, look, English. And I'm going, no. Those people didn't know English. English wasn't around. Exactly. They have no idea what you're saying." And
yes, and a lot of people are misconceived by that. If you're over in another country, trying to do an investigation, you got to have some common sense and think that 9 times out of 10, any spirits that come through there are going to be speaking whatever language that country, from the country. And people ask me too, well, have you guys ever gotten any foreign EVPs? I'm like, yeah, we've captured a few here and there that sound like they're foreign, and we don't really understand what they're saying. I speak a little bit of German, but I've never had anything, that sounds German come through. But it's a misconception, and there's a lot of them in the field, and that's what I try to do in my journey is try to think outside the box and realize what kind of things have different effects on what we're reviewing, what we're hearing, what we're seeing. That way I can better myself off as an investigator and get the most out of my investigation, even if it's nothing.
Right.
I'd rather come home with nothing, not having experience at all, than thinking that I've experienced everything that could happen in a place. And, I'd rather keep my common sense about myself.
Marcus says he did that in New Mexico by Billy the Kid's grave. Just stopped and took it in, knowing that they rode there.
Yes. See, me and him would get along great.
Oh, I don't know why. Especially, when I moved to Holland, it was when really history and paranormal did this for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, okay, well, now I got best of both worlds, and
right.
It was awesome. I love history. I love anything history, and it's amazing.
Right. Another thing I do on my journeys is like this weekend I'll be going out to St. Louis to stay at a place called the Limp Mansion on Saturday night, and then on Sunday night I'll be in Alton, Illinois, which they call the smallest, most haunted little city in America, and we'll be at the Mineral Springs Hotel there Sunday evening doing a live investigation with different members of our group pages. But while I'm out there, we're going to stop by. A friend of mine told me about the original Exorcist House that's out there in St. Louis. That was in the 1940s when the boy that lived there was actually a boy that went through all this and not a girl.
Yep.
So we're going to stop by and check out that house, and then we're going to go see the church not where they did the full exorcism, but they started it at this church close by.
Yeah.
So we're hoping to stop by and go inside and check out the church. And then we're going to go by this main graveyard out there in, what's his name? Chuck Berry is buried there. So we're going to go by and pay our respects to Chuck Berry while we're out there. He was like the Black Elvis of his time, I guess, really good rock and roll singer, played a guitar and stuff. And so we're going to stop by there and see him and check out that cemetery. It's supposed to be a real beautiful cemetery. So we're going to take a couple side trips while we're out there in between investigations.
It's funny because when you were talking about Alton, Illinois, I was like, there is a YouTuber. He's not paranormal at all, and but he's sensitive.
Right.
But he doesn't. He's just going and look at real estate property to fix up the area in St. Louis, and he moved to Alton and ended up having what's his name? Coyotes. It's Sam, isn't it?
Oh, are you talking about Chris Coyote?
Chris, yes. Sutton, yes.
Yeah.
He actually had Chris come to his house because he wasn't understanding what was happening in his house. He knew there was something there. And Chris went in the basement. And he's like, "You got limestone in your basement." She's like, "Cover it up."
Oh, well.
And I mean, I've heard about mineral wells so much. I'm like, I've got to go. I've got to go. Selena says she wants to go to the Paris catacombs.
Yes.
Depends which one. Research. Which one? Do you want to do the tourist one, or do you want the real in the tunnels?
Gotta get the real deal.
I
actually did some research on the catacombs out there a couple months back, and the history of all the bodies that unearthed, through all the weeks of rain they had. They had corpses popping up everywhere.
Yes.
And, they didn't know what to do with them, and then they started sticking them underground. And I think what I read, there was over millions of different human remains down there, different bodies down in the catacombs down there. And it's just like unbelievable to think that's how they handle different situations back then compared to nowadays. I mean, that wouldn't be
Right.
allowed nowadays. You wouldn't think. So yeah, it's definitely a place that would be very worth checking out. I agree with her. That would be pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. And of course, my husband had to throw in a fun fact. Chuck Berry married a Dutch girl.
Did he? Okay. I didn't know that. Didn't know that.
I didn't either.
Thanks for the
Okay,
info, Ed.
right. Did he live there or here? That's the question.
I believe he
Um,
was stateside most of his career.
he'll know. So, do you have any pet peeves? When you're investigating, not on your own, of
Uh,
course, but with.
um, yeah, I mean, it's just pretty much like anybody else would be. If you're doing an EVP session or something, um, try to take a little time in between questions. And, if you're in an area where there's someone else investigating, be more considerate. We try to announce what we're doing. Hey, if there's somebody in this area, any other teammates, you're going to do an EVP session. So try to hold the noise down or go into a different area. I mean, it's just pretty much the basics. And I can't stand those SB7 spirit boxes. They make way so much noise. They give me a headache and they irritate the hell out of me. Can't stand them. I bought one, I don't know, 5 years ago or something when they first came out. I think I used it twice and I haven't touched it since. It's been sitting in the closet ever since. When you first see it on TV, it looks kind of cool. But to me, when I used it a couple times, it was just too much for me. I couldn't handle it.
Right.
Now, when I'm somewhere on an investigation and someone pulls one out, I just kind of leave that area and go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Not very fond of them. Now, the other ones, the portal boxes or echo boxes or whatever they call them, those aren't so bad, but the SB7, I can't handle those, especially when I got them hooked up to a speaker and it's really loud and all you get is that.
Mm-hmm.
That's enough to drive me crazy right there.
What are your thoughts on people who want to attract things that are on the more darker side of the paranormal?
I think they should take a step back and look at what they're trying to do because it can have some pretty dramatic effects on them, their health, anybody around them. I think it's a little more on the ridiculous side, but to each their own. I mean, we got a lot of people out there in the field that do provoke, that are looking for demons or looking for demonic entities, whatever, and
or even just nasty, nefarious spirits.
Right.
They're just as bad too.
Yeah. I think eventually they're going to get what they ask for. If you're an asshole and you're coming across like that, trying to look for it, I think there's going to be one out there that's going to give it to you eventually.
Right. And Robbie, because he wanted to know what piece of equipment you were talking about, the SB7,
mm-hmm.
the really screechy loud. Oh.
Yeah.
Marcus goes, I hope I never encounter a demon. Mm-hmm. No, I mean, I know there's people out there that encourage things to happen to them, and I'm going, why?
Right.
Why?
Exactly.
What are the top things that you should never do during an investigation?
Well, one is obviously don't provoke. 2 would be aware of your surroundings. 3, never let your mind get the best of you. Make sense of what's going on. And 4, know your equipment and how it works. What can cause something to go off, because there's a lot of times where different weather situations, different temperatures will cause different effects with your equipment. And it's very important to know what causes those equipment malfunctions, I would say. So know your equipment, because if you don't know how your equipment works or what causes it, they react in different ways. And you're pretty much setting yourself up for a lot of false positives.
Yeah. Robbie was wanting to know, is it the same as the SB11?
The SB11 is a little more modern. It still kind of has the same effect, but I think
It's got a
filtered
click in it.
differently.
Yeah,
It's
you hear
filtered
that?
differently. So yeah, it's not quite like the SB7. That's the newer version of the SB7. I think that was a little more thought well as far as putting it together. It's a a better product in the SB7 for sure.
Marcus says, watch out for elevator shafts. I'm sorry, this one
Yeah.
gets. And don't tell people about bugs in your drawers. I can't. And Robbie says, my team has both, but I don't care for either. So
Yeah, I mean, I don't use either one of them myself, but if someone else is using one, if I don't care to be around it, I just leave into the other room or go off by myself and do what I do. It's not too bad sometimes, but if you're on an investigation and that's all you want to do is use ITC devices, yeah, it gets old really quick for me, and I'll definitely go off by my own and go do my own thing. I can only handle so much ITC, especially when it comes to those spirit boxes. But if it's one of those that has the echo reverb on it or whatever, those aren't so bad. But at the same time, yeah, I'm kind of old school, and I believe in old school methods. I'm not a really big fan of ITC, but I don't mind at the same time. Like I said, I got lots of friends in the field that use it, and they capture actually some pretty good corresponding evidence with it. So teach their own.
Right. Okay. I'm just going to read. There's a picture you have up.
Okay.
And in the picture, you have a caption that reads, I'm just a guy who likes to be chained up and blindfolded in haunted locations. And before I go any further and before anybody says anything, I have a quick little video for y'all.
Uh-oh. Hey, me slab. A lot of familiar places in that one.
What I thought, I wanted to add music. I was just too exhausted. I mean, that was slapped together really quick last night. I was like, I want to add music. Cool. I was like, but I wanted to get people, I wanted them to see exactly what you do, because that blows my mind more than anything, because not that many people would be willing to step. I know I couldn't do it. I couldn't.
Yeah. It takes something, out of you. You better do something like that. I mean, you really got to be in tune with yourself and be able to control your fears to a level, some point, to be able to do something like that. Because most people in a situation like that would just let their thoughts and fears just overwhelm them. And I was just talking about this the other night on a podcast. They were asking, do you think anybody can do this? I'm like, well, I believe a lot of people can learn to control their fears long enough to do it. But then there's some people I think would get so caught up in anxiety and their fears that it could possibly cause harm on them, mentally, physically, whatever. So I don't think everybody can do it, but I encourage people to maybe take that step if you think you can do it, because it's definitely an experience like no other you'll ever experience in the field, because you're cutting off your mobility, you're cutting off your vision. So all you can rely on is your hearing and your smell, and natural senses, as far as being touched or whatever like that, something touching you. But it definitely makes a big difference. The first time I did it, I was in Waverly Hills, and they chained me up to a wheelchair, and they rolled me down some hallway and stuck me in a random room. And if you've been to Waverly Hills, that place is just intimidating altogether. The size of it, the history of it. So they stick me in a room, and of course I had cameras watching me, and there's just so many different noises, so much going on in this room. And I'm trying to make sense of everything. And this is my first time ever doing one. Of course, my heart's racing, and I'm sweating, and I'm like, okay, you got this, you can do this. So I really just calmed myself down and just listened to the building as I'm doing my EVP, session as I'm chained up there. But yeah, I mean, the wind where it carried through that building, it made it seem like there was something all around you, and I could hear in the hallway directly behind me that there was movement out in the hallway, but I couldn't make sense what it was because I was facing the other way towards the outside corridor they have out there. But I kept hearing movement, and I knew I was hearing movement. But later on, once we got home and I reviewed the video, there was like multiple bats flying up and down that hallway, like really close by. And anybody that knows bats, they're attracted to IR lights. So, I was like, thank God none of them came in here and, flew by my head or did this or did that, because that would have been crazy to have a bat start attacking me because there's, IR lights close to me or whatever. But yeah, I mean, it's one of my things I've been doing for a few years now. And a lot of people ask, well, why do you do it? And I'll tell the same story I always do. I'm not sensitive in any kind of way. I'm not psychic. This is my way of trying to get the spirits to interact with me. I try to put myself in a vulnerable situation to show them that I'm not there to harm them. I'm not going nowhere, and I'm not there to disrespect them. And I'm hoping with them seeing me in a vulnerable state that they're like, okay, well, this guy's not a threat. I'll come out and talk to him, whatever, try to interact with him. So that's why I do it, more or less. And I don't know. I'm probably up to 30 locations and 30 challenges, give or take, to this date. And got quite a few crazy ones coming up this year. So it should be an interesting year.
Well, the Reaper says, I thought I was into bondage. Selena says, that's a whole new perception of the sensory deprivation session.
Yes, it is.
And Janine, I like sensory depth. The only thing is you're not listening to radios. You're listening to what's around you. So
exactly.
I think that makes it even more yikes.
Yeah, I mean, more or less, it's like an extended EVP session, being chained up and blindfolded and having cameras watching you, or maybe even a couple of devices around you in that particular area, wherever they stick me at.
And of course, my husband says next week I'm going to be in chains. Yeah.
Well,
okay.
I'm looking.
He's the one that's dead to the world. He should be doing it.
All right. I'm looking at picking up a straight jacket sometime for a new challenge. I'm going to be the same kind of challenge, but just to switch it up a little bit, try something different, maybe a straight jacket or something. If I can find one at an affordable price. The original straight jackets go for a pretty penny these days.
Yeah, they do. And of course, my husband also has to put in his little 2 cents. Some duct tape does work.
Yeah. Just doesn't come off as easy. It's a little rough on the skin.
Rip your skin and your hair and everything off.
Right.
So if you could pick anyone alive or who has passed on to investigate with, who would it be?
That's a tough one. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. No. It's a hard one. I guess if it were someone that's passed on, I would say Lorraine, because her abilities and what she did to the field and the people that she helped out, she's very inspiring. I think that she's one of the more inspiring people that you can meet ever had the opportunity to investigate with.
Mm-hmm.
And alive, I don't know, that's a hard one because I've been with so many people and met so many people and investigated with so many, I'm not gonna say more popular people in the field, but more the ones that stand out a lot. I've investigated with Nick Groff. I've been with most of the ghost hunters. I don't know. That's a hard one.
Selena's ribbing you. She says, "Here's Jeopardy theme song while you're finding
Right?
the answer."
Yeah, I've never. You kind of stumped me. You really did. Because I've never been asked that before.
I asked one person and they said that. Oh, who? Now I can't even remember who it was. Oh, forget it.
I mean, it's genuinely a hard question because I mean, a lot of people that I looked up into the field that I had investigated with, and I'm actually on a team with two of the cast members from Ghost Hunters, Brian and Rochelle.
There you go.
So I've been out there quite a bit, investigated with a lot of cool people. I just can't think of who would be the one alive that I'd like to go investigate with next. That's a hard one.
I have to ask you a question.
Most people would probably say
this question. Okay. I have to ask you this question. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
No, you're fine.
Is Brian really as clumsy as Rochelle says he is?
Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Yes, he is. Well, a lot of times it's not necessarily his clumsiness. They get to goofing around. We were at the Bell Mansion Saturday night, and they're just so goofy. They act like brother and sister.
Yes.
But they were like play fighting in the main ballroom area, whatever you want to call it. And she started backing him up, and he almost fell into a chair or fell over a chair. And I was like, Brian, see, that's what happens when you start playing around. We were at Waverly Hills. You're probably gonna get mad at me for saying this. We were at Waverly Hills a couple of years ago, and they started play fighting there in the main drive, right there before you go into the gate. We're out there waiting for them to open the gate to let us in, and they started play fighting, and same thing. She started backing him up a little bit, or I'm not gonna say she had him stepping back. He was stepping back, and he fell into a ditch and really messed up his wrist.
Oh.
And the whole team's out there, so the whole team's watching. And some of us are laughing at him, and then some of us are like, "Oh man, oh shit," And he's just laying there in a ditch, and he finally gets up. And Rochelle's backing up, and she's like, I'm so sorry. But she's laughing at the same time. She's laughing. I'm so sorry. And the look on his face, he sprained his wrist really bad. We had to wrap his wrist with something, ace bandage or something that somebody had for the rest of the night. But
didn't he just hurt his ankle? Just recently?
He's always hurt. Yeah. Well, he I don't know what happened in Vegas. He was out there for the convention. He either fell up an escalator or fell down an escalator or something. And then our teammate Rob had to call went to go get him help, to try to give him some help. A few paramedics showed up with a wheelchair and all kinds of stuff. And Rob is like, Brian, just give me the Ewas look, like I didn't need all this, You didn't have to get the paramedics. They didn't have to bring me a wheelchair. He was pretty embarrassed by it. But and then another episode, if you ever seen it, when he was on the show, they were at some plantation, I think maybe down in Mississippi or something, and they're in one of the old slave cabins, and he walks out, and that first step, he falls through the step, it caves in, and he falls and hurts his ankle there too. And
was he laying on the ground moaning.
Yes.
She was
Yeah.
telling me that story, and I was
Yes.
laughing so hard. She says, because he's like a kid, and you can hear that cry and know if he's really hurt or
Right.
milking. And she goes, he had that cry that he was really hurt. And I was like, oh my God.
Yeah. Yeah.
She said he was just laid
clumsy.
up.
Yeah.
And it amazes me because it's shocking to know that he's a drill sergeant, because he doesn't come off that way at all. But I did see him angry. And I saw that flash of it, and I went, oh. Right. He did. I mean, I was like, Marine drill sergeant. You always think of somebody that's just
right. Yeah.
Alpha and
Exactly.
But you know what? It did scare me.
Yeah, they're two of the most down to earth,
Yes,
laid back people you'll ever meet. I mean, they're funny, they're fun to be around. You know, nothing but good times when they're around. And they're great investigators too. They really take a logical approach to what they do and how they do it. And I'm happy to be a part of their team. I'm honored to be a part of their team. Who knew when I started doing this all these years later that someone with a little more notoriety than I would invite me to be on their team. I was pretty shocked when they invited me to be on their team. So it was an honor for them to reach out to me.
They are great people. They're great.
Yeah, they are awesome people.
So, I typically ask some people this. What are your thoughts about people who have abilities, and have you worked with one? Or if you haven't, would you work with one?
I have worked with people with abilities. One of my good friends, I consider her family. Her name is Kat Marie. She's with Trinity Paranormal of Long Island. Worked with her on multiple occasions, and I strongly believe in her abilities because I've experienced them on multiple different investigations, where there would be things that I would know about the location, and I would just be walking around with her to wait and see what she'd pick up on. Waverly Hills, for instance, we were on the outside corridor of the fourth floor, and the only thing I mentioned it was when we first got up to that floor that there was a particular room that seen a lot of tragedy, this and that, and it was very well known for quite a bit of crazy activity. So we're walking down the corridor. I didn't say anything to her about which room it was. And all of a sudden, and this is like 3/4 of the way down the corridor. I mean, we're almost to the other end of the building. And she stops at a particular room, and we're on the outside corridor, so you can't see the numbers of what room it is. You have to go inside to the hallway to see what number the room is. And it was room 424, which is one of the most active rooms in Waverly Hills. This is her first time here. She knew nothing about the room other than me telling her there's a crazy room on this floor. She said, there's something about this room. So we walked into the hallway, and sure enough, it was the exact room 424 that has the most craziest activity.
Wow.
Other than that, I've done some work with April Rousset from New Jersey. I did my first live investigation with her as she did a reading at the Hinsdale house last year. She kind of gave everybody a reading of what was going on around me as I was doing my live challenge. So that was something new. We didn't really have good reception up there because it's way up in the mountains in Hinsdale.
Right.
But what we did go through, she was able to share what was to the audience, what was going on around me. As far as she said, there was a male spirit that was kind of lurching over my shoulder, something about something, I don't remember what kind of form she said it took, something by my left leg, and she was asking me, do you feel like a static or electricity or something going on with your left leg? So I've worked with her, and she's actually helping me on the case that I was telling you about earlier, the residential case down in Greenwood, Indiana. She's been helping me out with that too. So, do I believe in psychics? Yes, I do believe some people have abilities that we're incapable. Some of us are incapable of even processing the thought of, those kind of abilities because we don't have them. And to think that someone can tell you what's going on. There's a lady in Gettysburg. She's part of Elite Paranormal Society. I think her name's Shauna. Oh no, what is it? It starts with a J. But I've talked to her multiple times. Janie is her name. Janie from Elite Paranormal Society, and she sees things, but at the same time, it's kind of like Amy Allen when she does her thing on her show, The Dead Files.
Yeah.
She'll explain to someone what she's seeing, and then they'll draw a picture of it. And if you see some of the stuff that she's saying that she's seeing on pictures, it just blows my mind. Or just to have her tell me about some of the things she sees. I'm like, I couldn't even fathom the idea of seeing something like that with my own eyes,
Yeah.
The creatures, these devil-looking things, and I mean, it just kind of blows me away. I couldn't imagine having that ability and seeing stuff like that. I mean, how do you adapt to seeing things like that or having those kind of experiences? It would take someone with a lot of inner empowerment to deal and have that kind of it's pretty intense.
It is.
But then I believe that on the flip side that there's a lot of people out there that claim they have abilities that probably don't, and they just use that as the publicity to get a little more attention to themselves or whatever it may be. And I really don't understand the tarot cards that well, because it seems like anybody can go to Walmart or wherever and pick up a deck of tarot cards and read tarot cards and I guess try to tell you your fortune or tell you, whatever. I'm not really big into the tarot cards, and I think they're misguiding to a point because I can go get my 7-year-old grandson a deck for Easter, and he could flip them over for you and say, "Oh, it's the devil," and give you some follow up to that. So I'm not really big on tarot cards, but I do believe in psychic abilities. I do believe that there's quite a few people out there with the abilities to communicate with the other side, see things, hear things, get impressions of certain locations. The one thing that I would say that I'm kind of leery about is what do they call it? Remote viewing, where you can be hundreds of miles away and feel something about a place across the country. I'm not gonna say far-fetched, but that's a little harder for me to comprehend.
Right.
I mean, if you're there and you're feeling the impression of the location, that's one thing, but it feels something. I mean, I'm not saying it can happen, but it's a little more harder for me to believe, understand that concept, I guess.
I think with remote viewing, it really takes a lot of time and a lot of concentration of doing it over and over and over. I mean, like,
right.
I was trying to do it on my own because I'm not going to pay anybody to teach me to do something. And I've kind of come up with a pretty decent system that if I'm watching a live stream, I can say, hey, this is going to happen. That's going to happen. But I have to ask you real quick because we're now 1 minute from 10 o'clock. Right. We have 8+ people still in chat. Do you want to keep on or?
Yeah, we can go a little bit longer. My wife's actually waiting on me to watch a movie before we go to bed, but we can give it another half an hour or so. If people want to talk, we'll talk.
Okay. Marcus says he has a hard time believing in them because of the fakes I've met in my life. And that's the unfortunate part of it is I do hear so many people in the paranormal that are like, I got burned.
Right. Exactly.
And it's
so
I mean, it's an easy test. If people don't know how to test, it's very easy to test someone. The Reaper, do you think people who claim to have abilities going to places are playing with fire?
I mean, it depends on the individual and how they use their abilities, I guess. Whether they're there for the right reason and they use them in the right manner, or whether they're using their abilities as a joke. It really depends on the individual. I think it could be harmful to some, but helpful for others. So it just depends on the individual. It's just like anything else in the field. It depends on your state of mind, what kind of person you are, what you're looking to get out of the paranormal field, whether you're in for a quick thrill or if you're trying to find answers. Everything comes down
or help.
Yeah. It all depends on what kind of person you are.
Because the help can go. The help can go on both sides. It could, because if you seriously invest time in things that you're given, you learn how to start protecting, which means then if I can protect myself, then I can then go, okay, this person over here is having a really hard time, and I'm going, to protect them and keep things from hitting them. Or it can be the other way around, and spirits are having a hard time and need help, want help. Right. I don't believe in passing spirits on. To me, that's not our job. But
yeah, and that's another thing that's always been tricky to field. You'll hear about these teams. They'll be going on residential cases, and the first thing you want to do is try to pass something on or bless the home. And I'm looking like, don't you think you should figure out what's going on in a home before you start doing any of that? Before you start trying to sage the house, shouldn't you figure out what's going on before you piss anything off by saging the house?
You mentioned saging. I have never ever saged any property for a ghost. Never. Right. I've saged for energy level, because like my home it was built and people divorced, and it was a nasty divorce. Then we're next to a university, college kids moved in. So the energy was bad. I saged for that. I've never saged for spirit. And you have to be careful, because you got to know, one, is it going to rear its ugly head because you've just saged and you didn't know what you were saging? Exactly. Marcus says, I've had an experience I cannot explain. I had a spirit guide me to the cemetery and straight to their grave. Yep.
Oh, wow. Well, it sounds like you're in tune somehow, brother. It sounds like you got some kind of ability to get a spirit, lead you to their grave. That's pretty impressive. I've heard that on a couple of occasions over the years where people get led to certain places, or they'll be somewhere, then all of a sudden they'll have a flashback. Hey, I'm supposed to be here for a particular reason. Yeah. Different things of that nature. But that sounds like you might have some kind of ability there, brother. There's something trying to reach out to you.
He says it's been keeping him awake at night for weeks, almost like it wanted me to follow it or go somewhere. Sure enough, it took me to his grave.
Oh, well. That's kind of crazy and cool.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
The Reaper says the fake ones who try to cross spirits over, not knowing the first thing about it.
Exactly.
Somebody says, I remember that when the Stargate project. I interviewed one of the ladies that worked with the people that created the Stargate project. And Reaper says somebody took me in a dark alley. Sorry, Reaper.
Like this Reaper guy. Where are you from, Reaper? We got to hang out sometime, right?
Right.
You got jokes.
Janine says behind the dumpster.
behind the dumpster. I like a sense of humor. I can imagine having a couple beers or something, hanging out with him. He probably got some stories to tell.
I've got some naughty ones, and they're so much fun. So I got a fun question for you.
Okay.
On your road trips to and from locations, what is your go-to snacks or drinks?
My go-to snacks or combos, the blue, where are they? Buffalo something, some kind of combos. I love combos.
Yeah,
and
my son does.
As far as drinks, everybody knows I like my Mountain Dew. I normally gotta have me some Mountain Dew while I'm investigating. So those are probably or I like the little Dorito crackers, like the nacho cheese Dorito crackers that you know at the gas stations. I like those. I try not to eat too heavy while I'm investigating.
Right.
Or eat a big meal because everybody will want to stop and eat this big pizza or something like that, or tacos.
And it gets your stomach going.
Right. But see, for me, they're going to lock me down at some point that night. So I don't want to have all that stuff in my stomach and be locked down and have the bubble guts in the middle of a fear challenge. That's the last thing everybody needs to be hearing on camera or video is me, my valve movements or me cutting up. That would be pretty embarrassing. So anytime I do my challenge, I always make sure I try to go to the bathroom as if I can before they lock me down. Because once they lock me down, I don't know when they're gonna be back.
Right.
Like I said, it's different time frames, different places.
Reaper
and I have no
way to go. Right, you're stuck.
Yeah.
What are you gonna do? Start yelling for help.
Normally when everybody else is going out and they're enjoying a nice slice of pizza, and I'm just sitting there looking at them like, F you. I can't have none of that. Because I'm lactose intolerant too, on top of that. So I gotta be careful about what I eat. I can't be having like milkshakes or something on a hot day in the summertime and everybody's drinking a milkshake. I can't have one because at some point later on that's gonna catch up.
Yeah, the ices are awesome.
Yeah. I agree.
I got some good icy flavors.
I like milkshakes better myself, but so things have a way of catching up with me, and I don't want to be in a bad situation and have things catch up with me. So I try to watch what I eat as far as meals go before. Normally I'll have something simple. If I do eat, it's like some chicken fingers and some French fries or something more settled, just to keep me going through the night to give me some energy. While everybody else is eating all the good stuff.
Marcus's EVP session, bowels exploding.
All right. Yep.
You have Reaper that follows up because you can blame it on the demon growls.
Right, exactly.
Oh my goodness!
Did you guys hear that? Something's growing all around me.
Right. I have heard investigators say that after investigating, they have particular foods that they just crave.
Depends on where we're at. We'll normally stop by and have breakfast somewhere, like at a Waffle House or a Denny's or something like that. Nothing in particular I crave, but normally it's some wee hours in the morning, so we normally are having some kind of breakfast.
Right.
But it's not any particular thing that I go for other than, some kind of breakfast food. Pretty simple, some bacon, eggs, and toast.
Oh my God, this guy's killing me.
Uh-oh.
Marcus is in the bathroom yelling, I'm possessed. The bell's exploding.
Man.
I'm sorry. I can't. Oh my gosh. Okay.
I'm getting to know Marcus pretty well tonight, man.
I think we all are getting to know him very well.
I think next time we need to interview you, Marcus. You got some stories, you got some experiences, you got some good jokes there, buddy. Yeah, next time we need to get you on the show, brother.
Right, you need to hit me up. We'll talk.
Yeah. You've been entertaining the two of us all night. I appreciate it.
Right. The Reaper says IHOP.
IHOP is good too. Yeah, definitely. Good old pancakes.
That's my husband. his mind was blown when he first came to America. And we did some drinking. And I said, well, honey, I said, before you go home, I said, the best thing is to go to IHOP and eat breakfast. And he's like, you have a place open that late here? And I was like, yes, it's open all night and all day.
Exactly.
He was in heaven.
And you can get whatever you want all day long, breakfast, lunch, or dinner. So that makes it even better that, you know, you have more of a variety of what you can eat.
And Selena goes, and Marcus goes, Commando.
Oh my God. That would be rough to be going commando after having a crazy dinner and be chained up to a chair somewhere and have leakage come out your, you know. That wouldn't be a pretty thing on camera. I'd probably have to retire from the field after that one.
There they come to try to lock you. No.
Right. They'll just no, we're not. You're screwed. We're leaving you here.
The Reaper says he has scratched walls. Let's see, scratched wall art up in that bathroom. Oh my goodness. I'm sorry. This is, whoa. Okay. So, what are your top 3 things to bring for an investigation?
As far as equipment wise, or
whatever. It's whatever. You can go equipment or you can go. I had one team that went food wise.
Food wise. Well, I mean, as far as food wise, you know, I always, actually, my older son, he knows me pretty well. So anytime he knows I got an investigation come up, he always stops by the gas station. He picks me up my combos, he picks me up my crackers, and he picks me out like a 20-ounce Mountain Dews. So that's food wise. As far as equipment, got to have a few different video cameras, multiple recorders, and whatever trigger devices I might want to use for that particular location. Other than that, depending on how long I'm going to be on the road, got to make sure I got plenty of underwear, plenty of socks, and different clothes that are, you know, particular to the location or what the weather's going to be like. And always
I'm
a
sorry,
couple good
Marcus
friends.
this dude is full of it. He's like, must be demonic. I smell a horrid sulfur. Oh my God. Okay. What are your opinions on orbs?
I don't give them no credibility much at all. Most of it's either dust, moisture in the air, you know, I mean, you name it. And when I first started years ago, you know, I'd go out to the cemeteries or these abandoned locations, and I'd come home with pictures with all kinds of orbs in it. And I used to get excited about them too, you know. Well, man, look at those pictures, you know, look at all the orbs. Now that I've been in the field for a while and I know more about how the orbs are created and what creates them, and, you know, bugs, insects, you know, whatever, I don't really give them too much credibility. But I do feel strongly about light anomalies. Now, those are a different story. If you're seeing anomaly and it's taken directions that are just abnormal than what a bug would take, or a particle of dust or something, I do give those some credibility. But as far as orbs, I believe 98% of them that people claim are an actual orb are mistaken that for, you know, dust or moisture or whatever it could be, even bugs. I mean, because people say all the time in the wintertime, well, I was here investigating, I caught this, and I'm like, well, that's a bug. Well, no, it's wintertime. Well, there are still bugs in the wintertime. You don't see them as much, but there are still insects during the wintertime. They're not, you know. So I don't really give them too much credibility, and it hurts me to see so many people give them so much credibility in the field, because again, you're making the mistakes of thinking that it's an orb when really it's so explainable, and you're just kind of fooling yourself, and I hate to see people do that. And then some people get really offensive. If, people leave comments on their posts or their pictures about it, they get really offended by it and get upset. And so when I see pictures of it, people post pictures, I really don't even comment no more. I just leave it alone, and leave it for everybody else to
It's
tell
not
them
worth
because,
arguing over.
yeah, I don't want to argue with no one. There was a guy that did a video a while back of someone walking down a hallway, and this particular person claimed that it was an apparition. Well, you could plainly see that it was a human being, and this person argued with so many people and was outraged that everybody was telling him, you're faking evidence, you're doing this, you're doing that. It's obviously a female walking down the hallway. And for days on, for a few days, he was like really going at it with people. And there was even threats made and, different things said about it. And so he finally came out and said, oh no, it was all just a joke. Blah, ha, 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 and I'm like, what were you thinking? Not a funny one. Yeah, why would you even begin to? It was so obvious that it was a live person walking out. Why would you put something out there like that and then argue with people for multiple days about the fact? Well, I know what I'm doing. This is an apparition. It's real. It's real. It's real. And if you would have seen the extent that he took it to, I was just like, wow. And then just for a few days later to come back out and say, oh, it was all just a joke. I was playing a joke on everyone. But you done upset a lot of people and made yourself look like a real
jackass.
Yeah, jackass. You know what I'm saying? You really did. But to each their own. Some people are just that desperate for attention, though, where they'll try stuff like that. They'll try to pull one over on you, or they'll manipulate a video, or do this or do that. And what's the sense of that? To get a few more likes, to get someone to say, oh, hey, he caught some good evidence or whatever, It's not worth it to me. You're going to like me for who I am and what I do in the field and how I conduct myself. And then when I do present some good evidence, you're not going to have that doubt in your mind, well, T-Dog's fake and stuff, because I don't just put evidence out there all the time. It's going to be something that's pretty significant for me to put out there for everyone to see. And even then, like I've said multiple times, I won't even claim that it's paranormal. I'll just claim that it's some abnormal incident that we had, and this is what we captured. Give me your thoughts, and people give me their thoughts, their honest opinions on it. And sometimes, okay, oh, yeah, you're right. That's probably what it was. Or sometimes I agree. Yeah, hey, that's, pretty good, incredible. Right. So, and, and I can take the criticism if it's there, or whatever, or, I can appreciate the congratulations on a great capture as well, so it goes both ways. Right.
So I've got a good question. What question do people ask you when you tell them that you're a paranormal investigator?
I guess the main question would be, what have you seen or what have you experienced? And as far as what I've seen, the main question is, have you ever seen a ghost, an apparition, a spirit? And through all my years to this day, I still haven't physically seen one with my own eyes. As far as experiences, I've seen things move, doors closed, being touched. I've witnessed shadows. I wouldn't say a full-blown shadow figure, but I've witnessed a lot of shadow play, we'll call it.
Right.
So, it's more baseline questions like that. But what kind of things have you seen? What's the scariest place you've ever investigated? Things of that nature is
right.
And then the big one is, why do you do it for? Why do you do that for? That's crazy.
Right.
So that would probably be the most one that stands out. Why do you do that for? That's crazy.
Where would you hope to see the paranormal field in 10 to 15 years down the road?
Again, to that point, I would hope people have a better understanding of the other side, and what they're dealing with in different scenarios of investigating, become more open-minded, and make sense of what's going on truly out there. Because there's a lot that's going on that we can't comprehend or try to even begin to figure out to this day. But I think people need to have a more realistic approach or outlook on the field. And I think the better people get with that, the less confusion there will be about different things like orbs or, whatever it may be. And I think that will help improve and make the field better for the individuals that are in it and those that are looking to get into it. Because normally when you get an interest in something, you research it and look things up to see how to do this or how to do that. And if it's still some of the stuff that we're seeing today that we've been seeing for years, then it's going to be a continued cycle of people being misled or misunderstanding how to properly, and boy, I guess there's no way to properly do it because everybody has their own techniques. But at least people won't let their fears or their lack of knowledge interfere with how they perceive things, I guess.
I like that. Marcus also says 10 to 15 years. Hopefully the negative shows run their course.
Right. Yeah.
It's entertainment though.
And he's got a point there, because that doesn't really help either when you got these shows out there, not to mention none of them, that always seem to have runs in with demons, or always something that's attached to me, or they're screaming and yelling and hooting and hollering. Yeah. That's
But see, that's where I said I see it in our young people now. They don't have the critical thinking skills to go, well, that just seems a little out there. Maybe I should go and see what it's all about. People just blindly follow and
that's how we as humans live our lives to a point. I mean, you do what you see to a degree. I'm not saying if someone kills somebody, you're going to go out and kill somebody. But as far as different situations in life, we look up to certain people and we see how they do things. And that leaves that impression on us like, hey, they're doing it right. I want to do it like they're doing it. And that may not always be the case. Not everybody's always doing the right thing or necessarily the bad thing, but you really just got to learn to realize what's proper and what's not, I guess, when it comes to doing certain things.
Yeah.
And use your own mind and take whatever approach you want to take into the field, because you don't have to be like anybody else. You can be totally different, and there's nothing wrong with that, because there's a lot of people that I've investigated that use a lot of different techniques that I find absolutely amazing, and that I've actually used in my investigating. But then there's some things I see like, what was the cause of you to do that? Why were you acting in that manner or using that particular device? And it didn't really make sense to me. But at the same time, to each their own. If they feel like it's something that they can get interaction with, more power to them. But yeah, some of these TV shows are definitely over the top for sure.
Yeah.
And it's just like locations too. I've been to locations that are over the top, to where it's more like walking into a haunted house situation on Halloween or something. They got props everywhere. They got Ouija boards sitting out. They got closets with mannequins in them, or just different things. Some of the stuff is just in storage. They may use it for their Halloween events or whatever, but then some of it's like different things set up. Ouija boards. I went to a place here in Indiana, and upstairs in the attic they had a small room that they made into what they call it, the devil's box. And there's mirrors all over this room, on the floor, on the ceiling, all over the walls. And and they call it the devil's box. So first time I ever went to this place, we drove through a blizzard to get out there. It's 2.5 hours driving this blizzard to get out to this place.
Oh God.
And I always heard decent things, but we'd never been there before, so we had to go check it out for ourselves. So we go investigate it for the night, and as soon as you get into the house, there's just so many hype factors, I'm gonna call it, laying around everywhere.
I know exactly what you're. Yeah, I know the
And I'm
location.
just like, really, come on now. This is set up to freak people out and set up to give you that impression that the place is evil, or this and that's going on. And I mean, obviously we stayed the whole night investigating, but I was very disappointed in this location. And
Mhm.
and then on top of that, there were two ladies there that night, and they stayed in a back room off the house. I'm just gonna say that. And then this
Mhm.
place over the years has had the reputation of also faking things and having speakers in walls and different things. So to me, I was just like, it was like, they're setting it up to give it that fear factor to freak you out when you come in
Mhm.
and see, this different stuff laying around, or having this devil's box room, or whatever. I mean,
It's little.
you
It's a
know,
little. It's not a big room. It's a little room.
yeah, a little bit, little
Hmm.
tiny little closet looking thing, but they got
I was
mirrors
like, what the
everywhere, and
heck
I'm
is
like,
this supposed to do?
yeah,
Look at this.
yeah, yeah. It's
Yeah,
like
yeah, I know that location. I
yeah,
won't say. I, I'll be nice. I won't say, but I agree with you. Yeah,
yeah. I mean,
it's over the
it's
top.
set up for hype and to give you that impression of certain
Hmm.
activity or whatever. It's hype,
Yeah,
and you know, I don't know. I don't like locations like that do that,
no,
because they're automatically giving people the wrong impression as soon as they walk in the door and start seeing that stuff. They're
yeah,
just gonna automatically, their brain's gonna click into overdrive and think, "Ooh, this place is haunted. They got,
right.
they're conjuring stuff, or they're doing this or doing that." And actually, that night was very quiet, and I don't think we caught one piece of evidence at all that night while we were there.
Mm-mm.
So I even laid in the bed in the master bedroom and did my challenge in the bed there, and yeah, it was quiet.
Mm-mm.
It was,
Yeah,
the worst part of that night was the blizzard driving out there.
yeah, I can
That was
imagine.
a,
I
that
mean,
was the scariest thing about that whole situation.
I mean, to me, if you're gonna go to the extent, just open a haunted attraction.
Exactly, exactly.
And then
So,
I mean, like, haunted house, the Halloween thing, not
hmm
yeah.
yep. But
Marcus is stuck about basements. I don't know, bless his heart. But I wanted to just say thank you so much. I had so much fun interviewing you. And I know all the people in chat had a great time. You have been absolutely wonderful, and thank you so, so much for your time and even giving us
not
an
a
extra
problem.
time, a little extra time.
Yeah, not a problem. I appreciate you reaching out to me and having me come
Mhm,
on and talk with you guys. It's an honor for me to
mhm,
be reached out to, and talk to everyone about some of my experiences or my beliefs, or whatever it may be. And I
mhm,
love to talk to people and share my experiences. It's one thing I like to
mhm.
do, and that's why we do this, to have those memories and experiences to talk about.
Yep. If anybody wanted to find you, where could they find you?
Well,
And I'll just
uh,
add the links below.
um, you can find me on TikTok at TigDog period 55. You can find me on Facebook under my regular name, Tim Kummer. You can find my Facebook page, or my group. It's the Paranormal Worldwide Crew. Uh,
Okay.
we've had that up and running for a couple years now. You can always reach me on there,
So
and
I will.
I'm pretty good at getting back with people. I do get overwhelmed with messages through Messenger sometimes, but I
Mhm.
always try to make time to get back with everybody. And most people will notice that about me. If you try to reach out to me, or even if I make a post in my group, I try to interact with everybody. If someone says good morning, I try to say good morning back. I'm very
Yeah.
interactive on my group page, uh, and with Messenger. When I get around to it, I always try to get back to everybody and answer their questions, or get with them about whatever it is that they're inquiring about.
Mhm.
So, but those are the three main ways. Facebook is most definitely the first one, and Twitter would be or not Twitter, TikTok would be the second
yeah.
one, but Facebook is the best way to get a hold of me. And my number's
So-
in my profile, so some people actually find
Be
my number in
nice.
my profile, and they'll
Be
call
nice.
me with a
Joke.
different.
Because he'll tell me if one of y'all called, and then I'm gonna have to come after y'all.
Right.
Thank you so much, and don't click off yet. Because I want to just say something. Then when we're done,
No problem. No problem.
Thank you. So I'm super excited. I'm so glad I had so much fun. I hope you guys had so much fun. This was the best. So my next interview is going to be Dan and Connie LeVay. They're the owners of Old Park Hotel. And I'm looking forward to that as well. So thank you so much. You guys are the greatest. You make this chat, and y'all are just awesome. Thank you. Have a wonderful night. Have a wonderful weekend.